So what do you think it would take to get more people into the cult?
More robes.
Yeah,
we
we
robes.
trick them. I don't want them to know that
A lot more
it's
robes.
a cult.
Order more robes, Gonk.
I don't want them to know that we're starting a cult and that we're trying to benefit from it.
From a cult?
Yeah.
Oh, hi guys! Welcome back to Life Day here at Badonkagonk, where you can get your own robe.
Somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're not starting a cult.
No, yeah. More information.
Guess what?
Later.
They're comfy.
Comfy. They are.
They
actually,
are comfy. He's excited. He doesn't get his own. I'm sorry. we can't find one.
You.
It says one size fit all, but
we'll find you something. It fits most. Not all.
All.
You're a little wider than a Wookiee.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, welcome back to Badonkagonk.
Badonkagonk.
We are here to talk about Star Wars. We have a book that we read.
We read books.
I listened to it.
You're a book reader now. How
Am
many
I?
books have we read up to this point? I mean, it's been like 10. You've read 10 books in a year. Have you ever read 10 books in a year?
It's been 12, right?
Well, I suppose.
We've been doing Badonkagonk all year, haven't we?
We miss some sometimes. I was just trying to correct,
Oh. I think we've done 12 books this year.
12 books?
I think so.
Is that your most books achieved in a year?
In a year? Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Whether
Especially
listened
since leaving school.
Whether listened to or read.
Yeah.
Even in school, I feel like we'd have like maybe 2 books in a
Yeah.
quarter, which is what? 9 weeks. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the most
All
books I've
right.
gone through in a year.
Hell yeah.
Achievement for me. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Awesome.
That's neat.
That's pretty cool. That's a life day miracle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we went over Queen's Shadow, and we'll be talking about that here in a few minutes.
Yep.
We're also going to be going over some of our favorite things for Star Wars this year that we had.
Yes.
Kind of looking back at the year of 2023 for Star Wars.
I should say, this isn't at least for me, that list won't be like, objectively, critically, here's the good things that I liked,
No.
For me, it was favorite moments, and that doesn't necessarily include like a part of a show or something. It's
Sure.
just Star Wars.
Yeah. No.
That's going to be fun.
That's kind of how I looked at it. I looked at mine for like just Star Wars in general.
Yeah.
Some things too. I also looked at like we experienced new books this year. So
Yeah.
like, is there anything from the books that I'm like, this is some of my favorite stuff from these books
Yeah.
and stuff? Because I experienced it this year.
Yeah.
Maybe not. It came out this year.
I understand.
Yeah.
Shit. I didn't do that. I was looking up dates like, oh no, I can't use this one.
No, I was looking at like, well, what did we cover for Badonkagonk?
This is Life Day, and it's a season of giving, and I'll give it to you.
All right,
You can
all
do
right.
that. That's
Well,
good.
we can look around and see if there's some
Yeah.
other things too if we need. I don't know
Okay.
if we're gonna have doubles on ours or not, but we'll see what we have. So
I'd be surprised if you got some of the ones I got, but we'll see.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then also we will be taking some questions to wrap up the podcast. So if
Mm-hmm.
you have questions, you can submit them through the various ways. We will take some from YouTube as well as from Twitch.
Yes.
So if you submit some of those now, we'll look through those here in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're about the book, we'll try to take them maybe along the book time.
Yep.
If they're not about the book, we'll cover them more towards the end.
We will do our best, which is very high performance, but not always exhaustive.
And then we will also be having another book that we will be covering for next year, for just a whole year. No, for January coming into 20. You got a hood on yours?
You don't have a hood on yours?
Mine didn't have a hood.
Hey, straight up, we do kind of look like we're like the wizards of Dathomir.
The Wizards of Dathomir? Oh, yes, man.
No, my Star Wars hoodie has a hood.
Oh, okay. I was like, dang, I didn't get a hood.
Sorry.
Yeah, he didn't even get a robe. I'm sorry, Gonk.
He can't
He has
feel
to mock
cold.
me because. All right. Well, let's start off, I guess, talking about Queen Shadow.
The Queen's Shadow. For those of you that don't read books, but you got us, and we're going to talk about this book and how you should feel about it.
How they should feel about it?
Yeah.
I just going to talk about how I felt about it and what's in the
Oh,
book.
that makes more sense. We should do that.
Yeah. So Queen Shadow is, I think,
E.K. Johnson.
E.K. Johnson, the first of the Padme, I think, trilogy of books.
Yeah.
But-
Did they know that when it was coming out?
I don't know if they knew that when it came out or not.
Mm.
I'm not sure.
Mm.
I do think
Yep.
that this book,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to say this, but it's not for me.
Okay.
I think this book is most of the things that people don't like in episode 1. You know what I mean? It's very. I always hear people complain about the political aspect of episode 1.
Sure.
This has a lot of the politics because this is Padme getting into the Senate.
True.
And beginning her journey in the Senate.
I get what you mean.
You know what I mean?
know what? Look, most of us, A lot of us, not most of us, but a lot of us, especially of our generation. We were young when we watched that movie.
I didn't care. I liked it
Like-
all.
Like
There's
there's
ET over there. Look at him.
I know, but like George Lucas was being yelled at by his producers. You can't have the antagonist be a 10-year-old. You can't have him be a kid. And he's like, who the fuck do you think I'm making this for? I'm making it for 10-year-olds.
Sure, yeah.
And then they're like, well, you can't have all this politics stuff. It's like, there's adults there too.
No,
So, yeah,
and-
it's a little bit in there for everybody.
And it definitely showcases, there's a political side to what Palpatine
Uh-huh.
has to do, right? And it shows his rise to power, while it also shows the rise of Padme into being a leader, into being in the Senate, into
senator.
understanding the Senate.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of cool, like, little character nods into things that we see and meet in the Clone Wars.
Yes, we absolutely do. In the review, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, but there were a couple things that I felt like we got characters, but I don't know if they match super well with what I saw in the Clone Wars. We got some cool Padme and especially Handmaiden stuff, but ultimately, and I like the book. I thought it was like an interesting character study. But what happened?
What happened in this book?
Yeah.
I mean,
What's
so
the plot and who's the antagonist? I know
So-
that's very simple
Sure,
questions.
sure.
And it's a shorter, more, youth-oriented book, I think.
I
I think my main criticism of the book is, like, I can't tell you, like, what happened in the book. Just that a bunch of stuff happened. I enjoyed the stuff that I was seeing, but I can't tell you what the plot was.
Sure. I think I get what you mean.
Yeah.
And I think also, if you read the book and you don't know some characters and you don't know what's happening, I think there's characters like Bail Organa,
Yeah.
Mon Mothma, that could maybe seem antagonistic
Sure.
because there's a mystery about them in this, right? That Padme
Yeah.
doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like the main character, she doesn't know. We know because we've watched the movies.
We're going
seen other
into the
aspects.
ignorance of the character.
Yeah,
Again,
so-
a character study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you're seeing her growth into some alliances that she makes with Mon Mothma, with Bail Organa, with the Rodian Far,
Anaconda Far.
Anaconda
Yeah.
Far. I couldn't remember the first name at all. But
Yeah.
I was like Far. There's Far in there. And you see her coming into the Senate and
Yep.
earning their maybe trust or respect or at least something into that such.
Well,
right?
finding her true political voice,
Sure.
or just voice in general. Padme Amidala is a role that she's created. The Queen of Naboo, when elected to that point, especially being so young, is like a part she's playing.
Sure.
And she has understudies, and they all got to be able to play the same part. And when you do that really well, you don't really know who Padme Naberi is, right?
Yeah.
That's her original name. That's who she is. But she's been, prepared for this all, to become the queen. And now that she's more of a politician, like
Yeah.
way more than she would have been when she was queen. There, she was more of a symbol, I feel like. Here, she actually gets to, like, come into her own and realize you can do stuff this way, the easy way. Maybe someone in the Senate and in the news would say the better way, or what she really thinks about herself, and that's what she finds. And that was cool. I like that part.
Yeah. I think the book covers a lot, like you said, character study. It covers a
Yeah.
lot of Padme, her thoughts, her progression, when and how she learns different things.
Yeah.
There's one of the things I really liked is that we get a lot more Sabé. We get Sabé at all. Like I didn't
All
know.
the ones that we know: Sabe, Dorme, Corday,
Right.
Sophia Coppola. Yeah, sure.
Corday was in this, which she dies at the beginning of episode 2, right?
does. I
We
failed you,
have-
Senator.
Yeah, we have Sabé, which I don't even know what happened to her, right? Like, she was in the first movie, and I don't remember her in episode 2 or in episode 3. She might have been there, but I don't remember her at all.
Yeah. Only in my study for the Schmodown did I come across some canon material that features Sabe in something that we'll probably check out later.
Okay.
Maybe next year.
Okay, that'd be cool. So I don't know if the book itself is fed into a trilogy
Yeah.
and really builds upon, like, what is an antagonistic force and what does she have to deal with.
Yeah.
But the thing I really liked was that it did dive into, she met this little boy on this planet as a slave, and it's like, well, she just never did anything about that. And in this one here, like, that is in the forefront of her mind.
It
of
is.
like, I want to help these slaves. I
On
don't want to
Tatooine.
buy them. I want to free them.
She specifically goes looking for Shmi Skywalker and
Yeah.
can't find her.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
really interesting.
She sends Sabé to go
Yeah.
find her, and she doesn't. She does free I think it was like 20, 25 slaves.
Yeah.
Which was good, but I don't think she feels like it's enough.
It's more
but
slaves
it's
than
like,
I've freed.
But it's really important to those 25, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that was added into this, where it was also part of Sabe's story, but it's also really connected to Padme and a goal that she had. That was like, what are you going to do now that you're not queen? That was like the first thing she was wanting to do.
Yeah.
And I was like,
the things I should be able to do.
Yeah. And in this book, Anakin pops up in her mind more than once, right? So it's not just like, you get to episode 2 and Padme's just like, oh, hey, yeah, I forgot all about you. Like, she has thought about him a few times because he's made an impression. She has his little necklace thing that made.
Japor snippet?
Yeah, there's that. There's like, oh, yeah, when he thought I was an angel, like.
Yeah, well, he represented the innocence of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Right? This sweet young boy who's a slave and the Republic does nothing about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Chancellor Palpatine's he's working on that.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna do something. But
he's the most. Oh my God, he can convince you that he's gonna get something done, and he knows completely nothing will get done about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he looks like he's helping, right?
He does.
That's the thing.
He looks like he's helping. He's also looking like, he's talking like, oh, you can't go too hard. I can't show you that much support. It would look weird because I replaced the guy who you said sucks, and I'm from your planet, So they have this like, Padme is stunted by this weird feeling of being, looked at and scrutinized way more than other junior senators are, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that her connection to Palpatine should be like a leg up, but he makes it seem more of like a detriment.
Yeah. And like she looks like she's more on his side kind of thing, so she's kind of looked down on as a senator and stuff too. So there's a lot of struggle she goes through with that I thought was just interesting to kind of like explore.
Sure. I asked like if it was like a planned trilogy or not, just because I did kind of feel like
what's the antagonist of the story? Because I thought the pirates. There's a lot of talk of the pirates and invading and doing things, and I thought that was going to be a bigger part maybe. And there was a segment that was like an action-y fighting the pirates kind of moment, protecting this convoy.
Yeah.
Bilaba showed up for a little bit with that.
I personally felt like it was half a good book. That's kind of my review of it. I liked it. Mm-hmm. The half I read was good, but I feel like I was missing another half, in my opinion. But maybe that's just because I'm instantly comparing it to all the other books that we've read, and you don't necessarily have to do that.
No.
This felt like a really easy read for me, Not a bad thing. I enjoyed the time I spent, but this is the first time I ever felt like I think I can use more. Whereas usually I get to the end of the book, I'm like, you could have dropped this, and this, and we've been good,
Sure.
But maybe that's good. I wanted more. I don't know.
I did. I thought about the pirates thing, and maybe that's going to come back more because I don't feel like they really solved a pirate issue.
Yeah.
They saved a convoy at one point, but
I mean, ultimately they utilized being able to make concrete.
Yeah, sure.
On a committee about concrete,
helping the one planet and stuff.
So that this planet can have more concrete. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, what happens next? Like, that's it. We're done with the book. I'm like, oh, okay.
Sure. I get you. I mean, I don't really have an answer for that. Like, that's kind of where it goes with that.
Well, if you don't mind, I would like to go into the Queen Shadow. Who dwells in the Queen Shadow?
I mean,
the Handmaidens.
Is it about the Handmaidens? Is it also about Padme?
I think it is.
Often dwells in the Queen's shadow herself?
Yeah, I mean, I personally never really thought about how much Padme, when she is in disguise as a handmaiden, as Padme, like, we are brave, she would have to like sit there and just trust the person is speaking for her in that way. And
that person has to know her very well, speak for her, not just like her, but also like knowing enough of what Padme would want to speak the way that Padme would want it.
Yeah.
To just throw that illusion,
I mean, I think that would have been like a really cool, especially that they're not just handmaidens, like they're bodyguards.
Yeah.
And she does say like my loyal bodyguard when she's talking about Sabé, but we didn't really get to see that. But we get to see some pretty cool stuff, or at least hear about some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
That these handmaidens can do.
I love like within all the handmaiden stuff. Like some of the stuff I like is getting a better glimpse into. They talk about the dress, like how having to switch into it.
How long that can take.
There was how long to do that in the painting.
Yeah.
Like there was a scene where they have to like do it real quick and they're practicing to try to prepare that. But I also thought it was interesting that they talked about like, you have a comlink hidden in your robe or whatever it was for like Bail Organa or something like that. Like, imagine how much tech I can hide in this.
Like, I got a whole personal shield in here.
Yeah, yeah. They talked about some kind
Are
of
you
silk.
humming?
There's a type of silk that could like withstand more as well, like
Yep.
blasts or something like that. And I was like, okay, interesting. Just I never thought about this being more than just like for show. But there's so much more you could do with that, and I was like, that's interesting.
Like it's for show. It's also for protection, but it's also easily duplicated to another person. Like when you're just really focusing on this, it's like, well, I put thick makeup on.
Yeah, there's so much here that you're distracted by. Like you don't realize this person is someone else.
Do you remember the first time watching episode 1 and being like, oh, that hasn't been Padme the whole time?
I think I remember being like, oh,
do you remember that? I don't really have that memory. I think it's just been too long.
Sure.
Or I don't know. I don't have.
It would be my first time watching the theaters, and I'm like, I don't know. I remember. I think I remember like being like, oh, whoa, okay. But also, I don't know. I mean, the ideas of Padme. Did I know any of that or anything ahead of time at all? I don't think I did. I think I would have been shocked.
Yeah.
But that and like the father thing in Empire Strikes Back, like I don't remember not knowing that either, But I did like in this one for that same talk, like she talks about how like there's only like 2 people that I never fooled. Like Bail Organa realized who I was. The first person who never was fooled was Qui-Gon Jinn. And the way that she talked about it sounded like he knew. He always knew.
Yeah.
Like it was never like he found out at some point. Like so he's like, all right, come on, Handmaiden. If the queen must, I guess I will take you.
I always assumed he didn't know.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
Did you ever assume?
There's a smirk that he had at the end where I felt like watching it more recently, I'm like, well, he knew.
Okay.
But when did he know?
I always thought he just figured out in that moment. He's like, damn. She got me.
I always felt like in that moment that Obi-Wan was kind of like, what? And Qui-Gon was kind of like,
Yeah.
Like, now she says it. But my question was always like, when did he come to that conclusion?
I hope it's immediately.
I think it is.
Qui-Gon Jinn, he is the one
in
Jedi.
the moment, right?
In the moment.
So I love it whenever it's like, like the queen wouldn't approve of this. Well, the queen
doesn't need to know.
Like
Queen doesn't need to know, huh? What are you gonna say?
So then she goes, well, I don't approve. He's
like, well, then you're not the queen, are you?
Like I think it's so fun that he kind of he knows and he's toying with her in that moment.
Okay, well, this book will forever change how I watch those scenes.
Yeah.
We talk about how when we expand Star Wars, it changes the way you watch sometimes. That will forever change the way I watch that scene.
Yeah. Like now think about it. Watch episode 1 again and be like, okay, Qui-Gon knows at all times now and see what you think about it that way, that this is always Padme and this is always the queen.
Yeah.
Like I also love too like because I don't think I probably never thought about when I was a kid of like, oh yeah, you send the handmaiden to go clean R2-D2.
Yeah.
The queen's not going to clean R2-D2.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what the queen does. The queen goes. So like it's also an interesting thing that, and I think they talk about it at some point in this book where it's like Padme sometimes has to go do dirty work because she has to pretend to not be the queen sometimes.
I'm playing the queen right now. Sabé is like, Padme will go clean it.
Yeah, right.
What are you gonna do? You can't say anything. That's really funny, and why they're such friends.
Yeah,
because I would 100% do that to you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm the king now, so go.
Aaron, go clean the R2 unit.
Yeah, right.
You know how hard it is to clean carbon scoring?
Right, yeah. Luke says it's hard, man. So I thought that was that's one of the things I think I liked about this book is that I felt like it added, and I like the prequels a lot anyway because I grew up with them, right? I think it added 2 elements of the prequels and the Clone Wars where I'm thinking about them and how they relate to this book.
Yeah.
Now, there is kind of what you said, like, is there any weird elements of how they introduce characters to what we get in Clone Wars, right? So we get...
A little bit, yeah.
We get...
Rush Clovis.
Clovis, yeah. I was going to say Lux, but no, not Lux. We get Bonteri, the Senator Bonteri.
Yes.
And we get Clovis in this, and Far.
Yeah, Far's good. I felt like it melded well for me. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I actually didn't go back and look, but I thought this was the case. Bonteri, Padme kind of talks about how she was a mentor before she became... Like a mentor on Naboo.
She mentions it?
She's like, oh, she was a mentor of mine on Naboo before I came to the Senate. And here, she's introduced when she's a senator to another senator.
Yeah.
And that didn't, so I'm going like, and I really should. I just haven't had time.
Sure.
I should have went back and tried to find those scenes.
Because that's in Clone Wars. I think it's mentioned in the episode when like she's going to talk to the Separatists, like people to see if they could like come to an agreement and stop this war, right? Like there's a Clone Wars episode like that. I think it's the same episode where she dies too,
so
right?
I feel like there's a small continuity break in there, which again we've talked about continuity breaks in the past and how I kind of like see it as more like, look, we're these aren't Lego bricks, like we're kind of putting this stuff in, fitting it in. You can still enjoy the ride if it's not seamless. Just don't put your hands outside. You might get snagged.
And there's conversations in there too where with Bail and Mon Mothma they talk about her relations with her and with Monteri, and she's like, I will not betray her. I want to cultivate a friendship with her, kind of thing. So I think that part relates well to Clone Wars.
I think
to
so. Where
they become friends and they want to work together, even if they're on different sides of the war, different sides of opinion, or whatever it is. But I get what you mean. Like there's a few elements there that can kind of seem weird, where I'm like she overhears which must be Dooku. They never say it's Dooku, but it must be Dooku that she's talking to. I can't imagine who else it would be. It's not gotta be Palpatine.
I believe it's Dooku, though there was an element even there. Senator Bonteri kind of like is enraptured and seems to be really like into Dooku in the Clone Wars, whereas here, if it is him, she seems afraid and kind of scared of him, And you can say like, well, I mean,
it could start that way.
It could start that way and evolve, so that's not that big of a deal. Yeah. There's also the Clovis thing, where I kind of felt like Padme and Clovis might have been a little closer than they appear here. Right here it kind of seems like Clovis has a crush. He goes in for a kiss. She's like, what the hell, dude? And that's it, And I don't know. There's something about their history that makes that feel more in the Clone Wars, but it's not as bad as the Bonteri thing, where it's like I feel like there was a contradiction there,
Yeah, and there might be. And I need to go back and watch that part of the Clone Wars then and see if it does contradict it at all. But with the Clovis thing, like I definitely felt like there's been like a relationship, or maybe he really wanted a relationship. But there's a lot of time in between that we could maybe have that maybe the other books cover or something like that too, where maybe there is more that happens there before Episode 2 and before the Clone Wars.
Maybe.
But at the very least, you at least know that he is interested in Padme, and that there's a bit of a friendship, but also some awkwardness because of that. But friendship and relationship aspects that maybe she could take advantage of, and that's why they send her to talk to him there in whichever episode.
Yeah, you're right. They do kind of like imply like you two are close.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But how do the Jedi know that? All we know about their closeness is that he awkwardly tried to kiss her, and then she was like, what? No. And he's like, oh, God. Oh, what have I done? Oh, no. And he runs out of the room. That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah. But maybe using that same thing. Like, we know Clovis likes you. So
heard he kissed you? We did.
Yeah. So that's the Clone Wars episode, I think, where she goes and Anakin's like her pilot or bodyguard or something, right? Like, So, I don't know. And maybe we get more out of the other books, Mm-hmm. But I think there's at least, it's seeded that there's something there, even if it's like not quite what I was maybe thinking of.
Sure.
But
Error to the Face says, since you speak of Clovis, if he were to be portrayed in live action, who would you choose for that role? And he's got to be handsome. He has to compete with Hayden Christensen, who's incredibly handsome.
Where are we? Like, are we
Clone
doing
Wars?
Are we doing Clone Wars live action?
Yeah, we're
like,
doing.
I'm just gonna say, like,
there.
there's a younger Padme here doing this.
I want you to cast Clovis as he was on that mountain retreat when Embo attacked them. That's Clovis. So who's playing Clovis? Like John Hamm, he's too old now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd buy it. He needs to be.
I don't know why he popped in my head.
Who?
Robbie from Cobra Kai.
Oh. I know why. Because you find that kid handsome. Right now you're going handsome kids, I know. Robbie from Cobra Kai.
Robbie from Cobra Kai. I don't know. Why not?
That kid, I think that he could do a lot.
I mean, he has blonde hair, I think, and Clovis had dark hair, but dye his hair. I don't know. Give him a wig, whatever.
Sure.
Just make him blonde. I don't care.
Yeah. Jake said Ben Barnes.
Ben Barnes.
I mean, in terms, so he was Jigsaw and Punisher.
Oh.
Very good looking man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't be too bad.
That would be good.
He had the really good, beard, right?
Yep.
I liked his beard.
He could play Clovis.
I'd be okay with that, yeah.
I've seen him fan casted as Revan before, though, and I like that more.
The
light and the dark,
In the same sense, I'd put Brett Dalton in there.
Brett Dalton?
Yeah, it depends. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the age. Yeah. What age do I need them to be?
Tom Ellis. No, I'd have him I'd want Padme to abandon Anakin. Leave him. Look at him.
Look at this man. So yeah, I don't know. And I mean, we don't know what happened necessarily to Clovis, right? No, we did. Yeah. Now I got to get to the later.
You had to catch yourself up, but
banking
yeah.
clan thing.
Yep.
So
I can see it, yeah. Clovis, he sacrifices himself.
Yeah. So it has
and
to
Anakin's like, I can't carry two people.
It's got to be in that Clone Wars area. Then
it's got to
so
be. Yeah.
He can't really be too much older. So
it would be weird if he's older than 30.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, Padme and Anakin are so young.
Yeah.
I mean, Anakin especially. But yeah, he'd need to be like. It'd be weird if he was older than 40. Definitely.
Yeah. He'd have to be probably in his 20s. I'd say.
I would say so.
So I don't know. 20-year-old Brett Dalton. That wouldn't be too bad.
I'll allow that. Just you can just take an actor, put him at any age.
Well, yeah, because it's a tricky thing to be like, well, when do you do that? Because like, do you just grab them now?
Sure.
And
Bing Kingsley.
Kingsley when he was 20 years old.
20.
I don't know.
Matt Boomer. Matt Boomer would be a good one. Actually, I think that's probably the closest in terms of what he looks like. Matt Boomer. I could see that.
Yeah.
He's a handsome man.
Yeah. Good old Neil.
Okay. Well, that little aside, but
all right. So what else was there with? Trying to remember any other part. One part I really liked though too was we were talking about the dress and everything too, and the changing of their outfits. I enjoyed the party that she went to, where like, well, we're gonna have a secret meeting. We need a distraction. We're gonna make Amidala the distraction and invite her, and then people will be looking at her and distracted, and we can go sneak off into our meeting. And Padme's like, all right, fine. They'll be distracted with the queen. I'm gonna not be the queen and go sneak off into their meeting.
They don't realize that the queen is my distraction.
Yeah. So I thought that part was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I also like that we had a lot more Typho.
A lot of Typho. Gregor Typho.
Right? Which, like, Typho's in episode 2, but he's not really in it too much.
He doesn't get much.
You know? Yeah. So in this one, we get him a little bit more. And they made some comment, too. It's during the pirate battle or after the pirate battle where they made a comment about, she has her pilot, I forget the pilot's name now, Verste or something like that, Verste, fly in and take some hits from the cargo ship to like protect it a little bit, and then they find their shields are strong enough to be able to take more, so they do it a few times. And Typho makes a comment of like, we're going to make sure you know how to fly like a real ship, because next time we're going to be in danger, I'm going to make sure that you can fight back. And then I was like, dude, in episode 2, she's flying a Naboo starfighter.
With Typho.
And then they land and like, guess there wasn't any danger. Like that happens. But
I love that scene. You're right. There was no danger.
There's no danger at all. Bam, But I thought it was really cool that that was a little nod, a little tie-in to like, oh, well, next time we see her in space, not being the queen, she's flying a starfighter that can fight back.
I like that part. That was good. At one point, because I think his name is Gregor Typho.
That sounds right, yeah.
At one point, it was misspelled. And in my smugness, I was like, you misspelled that. I knew it. I caught it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Weird.
Because I have this book at home.
Do you have the book?
So there was, I don't know, about 3/4 of it I was listening and reading, and I don't think I've ever retained anything more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually, sometimes if I'm like doing chores, doing the yard, doing something outside, I kind of like, crap, I wasn't paying attention. Crap. I have to go back 8 minutes,
Well, I do that when I'm reading, too.
You do that?
Where, like, I'll be reading. I'll read, I swear, I'll read, like, 2 pages. And I'm like, the heck did I just read?
Yeah.
And I'll go back, and I'll read again. I'm like, I read this.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I didn't retain it.
But if I have the book in front of
too.
me, and I have the audiobook, then I'm just a retention machine.
Yeah, I bet that would help.
Kat Tabor, man,
I didn't even mention that.
In Padme's voice.
Dude, having her be the voice for this was so cool.
Yeah,
I loved
really
having
cool.
like, there's Padme's voice. Great. The only thing that could have beat it would be Natalie Portman herself,
Yeah.
But Catherine Tabor does a great job with it.
She does a great job. I kind of felt the same way with Ashley Eckstein. Like, I wouldn't have any other way than her read the Ahsoka book. But she doesn't, like, I can't tell the difference between some of Kat Tabor's, male voices,
Sure.
But that happens to me when male performers are doing female voices. I can't tell the difference between their female voices, so it's not a huge deal.
No.
But I personally thought it was cool. I could hear the difference between her Padme, her Amidala, her Sabé, it was pretty cool. Really cool.
Her Sabé doing Amidala.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
No, that was really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they got her to do it.
Yeah.
And I hope they get her to do the other two.
That was one of my favorite parts of the book, was just like whenever they're like, read to you by Catherine
Tabor.
I was like, oh, sweet. But no, the the moment whenever she sneaks off and does her little like mission to listen in on their meeting and stuff too, I thought was really good. And then she's like, "Oh, they're gonna come meet me. I need to hurry up and get back."
Yeah.
I love that she also like, "Okay, let me hurry up and go this way. All right, good. I beat them." And then Bail Organa walks out a door and he's like, "Oh, sorry," and he moves and looks at her right in her handmaiden face.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah, it says like she turns the corner and she hears a small chuckle.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, that's so cool. So I like Bail and Padme
Me too.
meeting each other. I like the introduction to Bria.
I was gonna say I like Padme and Breha.
Breha.
I think a little bit more.
Yeah.
Two queens, one world.
And
you decide.
Both mothers of Leia, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is I think why that scene's there.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to have that.
I personally never got that Breha was like burned. Like she has like burnt skin or something from something, like, and she chose not to fix it.
How often do we see her?
Not very often. I mean,
I
Obi-Wan
think the most we've
Kenobi
seen her was
has
the
been
Kenobi
the most,
series,
and she
right?
was awesome in that.
Yeah, I don't remember any kind of burn.
Yeah, I don't know. They
there.
talk something about her, going on, Queen's quest to a mountain and being injured and choosing not to get it fixed because she wants to show her scars. I'm not really sure exactly, but the two different versions of a monarch, one hereditary, one elected, but them trying to find like what's similar versus what's different was really cool. I like those moments, and there's a small part of me that did get a little not excited, but maybe even somber, thinking that Padme is speaking to the woman who will raise her daughter.
Yeah. No, I like that. I thought it was nice that they had that introduction. And even Bale's like, "Hey, come meet my wife," and I was like, "Yes, go do that. That sounds cool."
Yeah, it was cool.
So that was definitely a part that I liked as well. On the note of Sabé as well, I talked about her a little bit, but I liked what this did for Sabé because I don't feel like there's much story for her in any of the movies. She's just kind of around.
I was going to say earlier, like, man, don't you kind of wish you got some of this stuff in the movie? But that would ruin the surprise.
Yeah.
Like, it works on you. Mm-hmm. You don't need to know. You don't see all those things. Those things are happening, but it's tricking you so you can't see them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No,
fair.
It's great. I mean, Keira Knightley, I think there was something I read that was talking about how Keira Knightley's mom couldn't tell the difference between Keira Knightley and Padme when they were in the Queen's outfit and makeup and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, out of anyone who could tell you the difference, it's probably your mom,
Yeah.
But like, they're like, I don't know which one's which.
I mean,
and I'm like, that's really
I can remember having watched the Pirates movies with Keira Knightley in them. And that's how I was kind of introduced to her.
Yeah.
At least I thought. And then hearing later, oh, she was actually Sabé, the decoy, and going in my head being like, oh, I just assumed they did like cloning shots, and there's just two. Yeah, honestly, I did. But again, I watched it young, and Lucas is like, that's what I made it for, to trick these kids,
Got him.
Yeah, got him. So I kind of mourn like not seeing that part.
Yeah.
But hindsight's 20/20.
Sure.
I wouldn't have had the feeling of, oh my God, Padme tricked me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like within this, like getting all the Handmaiden stuff, Sabé especially, I think was my favorite. I think she had the most time. We cut and had just some like sections of the chapters and stuff with just her.
Yeah.
And her journey trying to do the slave freeing with dang it, whatever the guy she was with.
The dude. I'm sorry, I don't remember the dude's name.
Tanya or something.
Yeah.
Something Tanya.
Tanzra.
Something with a T.
Yep.
I forget it.
He's very memorable.
Yeah, he was okay. He was kind of like another bodyguard.
He fought at the Battle of Naboo.
Yeah.
And he's a sweet dude.
Yeah.
And, Sabé's got needs.
Sure.
No, I don't know.
Which there was a scene that I was like,
sexy.
I listened to this a lot in my truck.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm driving the kids places, and I was like, hey, I'll listen to this part later.
Hey,
I don't know where this is going.
Son, I'm listening to this by myself later.
But there was definitely a steamier scene that I'm like, I mean, I don't think they're going to go too far in Star Wars, but
they went like Andor season 1 far enough, I feel like, right? It's like, oh, no, it's there. It's happening. Yeah. There's no like, there's no cut to black.
He lifts her up on the counter, like there's like there's just kissing of the necks and there's things like that, and I'm like, okay, we're getting a little heated here,
Yeah, it wasn't like that one book. What was that one book we read? Those between Survivor and Fallen Order.
Oh, Battle Scars.
Battle Scar, like that one was like that scene times Kaioken times 20.
Yeah, I guess so. But within all that too, like there's also the talk about Sabé being in the Queen's shadow.
Yeah.
Right. And did you get the feeling of like she has a interest in Padme, but she knows that it can't be kind of thing? Because there's a part wherever I felt like Sabé has like an interest in Padme where it's like I will always be there for her, but I know she will always be there for Naboo. You know what I mean? Like one of those kind of things. And it felt to me like maybe I love her, but I know I can't tell her that. But I will just always be there for her, but I know she can't always be there for me. But and then she's talking to the guy.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that kind of leads into them kind of having more of a romantic relationship between those two.
Progressive, straight, white guy, honest answer. I didn't even think about it.
Really?
Yeah. That doesn't mean it wasn't there. It's just that my defaults go to not that.
Sure.
So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay. Damn, you might be right.
Maybe. I don't know. That's how I took one.
I mean, I can. I can see that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because she's always like, I'll always be there for you. There's like, she's always everything she needs. She's like always there for and stuff too. And I felt like it was more than just like I have a duty. I felt like it was like almost like that friend zone kind of idea too, where it's like they're always there for me. They're the best friend I've ever had.
Sure.
But they're like, I really want more, but I know I can't get more out of this. But I'm gonna just stay with what I've got, kind of thing. I'd rather have this than nothing. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I was thinking about a little bit. Which I was like, well, that's interesting to have that element there. And I wondered if that kind of, like, we get to the end of this book and the epilogue is focused more so on Sabé, which I was like, ooh, maybe, I don't know if they do, but, like, do we get to see where Sabé goes after this in, like, one of the other Padme books or in something else? Because I think, like, Bail Organa called her and was like, hey, I have something for you. And I was like, what could that be? Is she going to, like, help take care of Leia and be a bodyguard for her? Is there going to be, like, secret missions that she needs to do for him? You know, like, I don't know what it's going to be. But I was just curious and interested on that. Like, what cooler things? Like, either I cared for this person or, you know, they were my best friend and I'm going to help take care of their daughter. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool, you know? But I don't know what it's going to be.
Do you want me to tell you, like, the thing that not what's
know
happening, but, like, where she appears? And that we might get into?
To see her again, yeah.
Apparently, she shows up in the Vader comics.
Oh, really?
Going to be interesting. Vader interacting with someone that looks just like his wife.
Like, yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
So I'd be excited for that. Ever since you mentioned that, do you think that she might have feelings for Padme? Like, I cannot stop my brain from writing like an SNL sketch about a person that is dressed up as their crush.
I mean,
you know, everybody thinks that you're your crush. Like, there's a lot of like very complicated feelings there.
Oh yeah, and that very well could
real
be why,
funny.
Right? Like maybe that's a thing too. Like she's in her mind so much that she starts to really care for her.
Yeah.
Because of that bodyguard kind of thing, you know. I don't know.
That's a character study.
So yeah, it's an interesting idea if that's what they were doing with it. But and then also I thought it was the very beginning. I think the prologue part of it.
Yeah.
I thought was cool because it was episode 1. It was like Trade Federation's landing, and it's in the mind of like Padme and Handmaidens, and they're preparing for them to come and like, all right, let's go, you know, which I thought was fine, but I didn't make it through 2 passes through the book. I've been trying to like, especially when I drive now, like having that in my car is being able to like listen to it hopefully more frequently. Yeah. And once I get through it once, then I can just let it play, and I'm not as like, oh, did I miss something? Because I can just hear more. Maybe I catch something else I missed.
I recently just moved, so I'm much further away from things than I used to be. I used to be like 3 or 4 minutes away from
anything.
Stuff. So I'd turn my book on, and I'm like 3 minutes. I'm like, all right, done. Remember that in an hour, you know? But now that I live a little further, I actually like am getting those moments longer, you know, more often. So that's been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you realize this or not, but after the little like prologue thing of episode 1, the very beginning scene starts with Padme, and it's describing her, and it says things like, she lays there, floating, still, motionless on her face, with flowers in her hair, right?
Yep.
They say the same thing in the epilogue.
I know. I didn't get into the epilogue.
You didn't what?
I didn't think about it until the epilogue with the roses in the hair thing.
Really?
I just in the first one I was like, okay, yeah, she did a lot of weird stuff.
I didn't realize it in the beginning. I listened to the epilogue, and when I was listening to the epilogue, this is in her funeral. Like when it goes through, right? She's floating on the thing. She has the flowers in her hair. Like all this stuff is happening. And then when I was re-listening to it, I'm like, dude, it's like word for word the same thing in the beginning of the actual book after the prologue, and then in the epilogue. is like the same
Word for
description.
word. Oh, wow.
Just she's floating in water on like this lake. And
Very
then
Kino,
one of
yeah.
the handmaidens come and like mess with her.
Yeah.
But then at the very end, it's her doing the exact same description of her in her funeral. And I was like, oh man, I didn't realize they did that. That's kind of cool. I just thought it was neat.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Just thought it was really neat.
Yeah.
Liked that a lot.
Speaking of the epilogue, though, good old Captain Panaka.
Dude, did you know?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that Panaka.
I knew that Panaka is like straight up an Imperial officer.
Yeah, and he like runs Naboo. They don't do queen or governor or whatever, and he takes over as a
They see it pretty good in the book too, because they're talking about planetary defense.
Yeah.
And Naboo are pacifists. They don't do that. But we have this thing called the Ion Dome or something like that.
Yeah,
but
Ion something.
yeah.
I think is that in? Did you play Battlefront 2?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there was something they had in Battlefront 2, and I was like, is it that?
That
thing?
is the thing that on Naboo you activate against the
Ember
Project
and Cinder.
Yeah, Cinder. Project Cinder.
Okay.
That's the thing the rebels do. Yeah.
All right.
So it is that.
I was wondering what it was.
I can't remember the name right now. It's stuck in the tip of my tongue.
I don't know. Chad, if you remember, let us know. But it's Ion something.
But
or
Hugh
Ion...
Corshi, not Hugh Corshi, that's the actor's name. Korsh Panaka.
Korsh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was for more, right?
He was for more. And actually, that's one of the things, like, that took him out of service. He was so against it that they kind of, like, said, well, I mean, you can retire and we not talk about this big rift that's right now.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the Empire in Naboo, he's the one that takes over. He's the one that gets what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we had his wife in here too, as a Captain Panaka as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like her and then Typho and stuff.
Yeah, that's his nephew.
Kind of the main ones that were there. So,
Yeah.
No, and I thought that happened. I was like, dude, he was an Imperial.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever hearing about that. All
Yep.
right, well,
Yep.
he didn't seem that bad. Maybe he's not that bad of an Imperial. I don't know, but I have no idea. I don't know if we get more story with him at some point in the future. But I think that'd be cool.
He didn't approve of the way the Jedi did things.
I mean, I guess so. He said that a lot, right? Dude, speaking of characters from Episode 1, we also had a mention of Rick Oli. Though I don't think the book told me it was Oli. They said it in a different way.
Rick Olay.
Olie or something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
But, like, I kind of felt
Bravo
bad.
1. Bravo leader.
Yeah. I felt bad, though, because I was like, oh, well, he was in the Battle of Naboo.
Yep.
And he had an injury in his ear that allows him not to, like, go into space anymore.
That sucks.
I was like, that sucks. Because, like, he was, like, the best pilot they had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean... He didn't say a lot of important stuff, just kind of what was already happening.
Very obvious stuff.
Yeah.
Captain Obvious.
But he was a good pilot.
Yeah. He was a good pilot.
I had an action figure of him. I was like,
I had Rick Ollie. Yeah, absolutely. I have one over there. I'm sure I have at least 3 over there.
Yeah, I had a little one.
You had the
I didn't have like a Black
3/4.
Series one or nothing, but
Yep. No, he was cool. Well,
anything else in the book?
I mean, I'm looking forward for more. I got to the end. I gotta admit, I was a little disappointed that I thought there was more.
At least it's good that you wanted more.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, well, this is a little long-winded.
But I had the benefit of like, well, I know there's 2 more of these,
Sure.
So something's gonna happen,
Yeah.
But I wonder if people that watched it or did the first time were like, "Wow."
There's only one other thing I know about the trilogy.
Okay.
And that's
A clone trooper?
no, it's not about
Okay.
anything in the book itself. It's more about the times that they take place.
I don't know that then.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing, and it's not even the precise times.
Yeah.
So it's just
Gotcha.
a rough idea. So other than that, no, I'd like to see like if there's more Sabé. I actually kind of liked having Sabé's story just to get to know who that character was because they're important in Episode 1. You just don't really get to know them.
Not really.
So no, I look forward to doing Queen's Peril. I think is the next book.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to 2024 where we get more into that.
Yeah.
And hopefully more into a lot of things.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Absolutely.
We won't be going into Queen's Peril next though.
No.
Right?
There's going to be another book before then, Aaron.
Yeah.
And yes, we are going into the future, into 2024. But the book we're choosing goes into the past, where we'll be reading next A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland, Book 3 in the High Republic.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll
Going back into the High Republic.
it'd be fun to get a little bit more High Republic stuff into there too. We also, which is awesome, and it helped me a lot in our most recent mailbag, got a character encyclopedia.
Of the High Republic character.
Of the High Republic.
Yeah.
And I was like, this will be really cool. I will enjoy being able to, like, okay, who's this character look like? Or, get an image in my head of these characters and stuff, too. And I don't want to dive too much and get, like, super spoilers and stuff. Yeah. But there's definitely going to be, I think, some information that could help maybe supplement some parts and stuff, too, which will be cool.
A wave rider at Star Wars Celebration this year, was it Nexus? I can't remember exactly who, gave me a bookmark that has all the, like, the major Jedi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you could be reading along and just be like, wait, who's this? Ah!
Yeah, there you go. It's like flashcards.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
It works. So that'd be really cool. It'd be neat to get back into some High Republic stuff and whatnot, too. But
and
I definitely want to get into more of the Queen stuff, too.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so much.
There's so much.
Like, I don't know a lot of Legends. Maybe at some point we can get to those. But there's so much canon story that whether it's, like, present or High Republic era, there's so much of it that we haven't done that I'm excited for. There's that book with Luke and Lando. I'm like, I would love to read that,
But we can't. Not yet.
Yeah.
So if you're, like we were just a year ago, like the High Republic, there's a lot out now, and I feel like I'm being left behind. Well, we've only done 2 books so far. You can read those first 2 books and check out the reviews that we did.
Light of the Jedi and Into the Dark.
And you can also check out A Test of Courage and join us for the next deep dive into the High Republic.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm excited to continue that journey.
Yeah. And we look to getting into some of the comic stuff as well and trying to cover some of that. So hopefully we will be able to help lead through a lot of the comic lore, too, that can kind of tie in with the books and stuff.
Yeah.
So that'd be good.
Yeah. And, I mean, we have these conversations and we want you to engage with the material, but if not all of us have the time, like we still want these videos to be entertaining. So even if you haven't read the stuff, maybe you can listen to the conversation, get kind of an idea, and that helps kind of fill in some Star Wars gaps.
Sure.
Follow along that way, too.
And if nothing else, I know there was someone who's was talking about like this book specifically, where like there's more Bail content in this book too, because like Bail Organa I know a lot of people's like they really like Bail Organa. I love Bail Organa.
I love Bail.
Getting to see Jimmy is great, but we don't get him a whole lot. So getting some of those moments in these books and stuff too is like, Bail Organa's sweet. Like I really liked in this book. There's a point when they're going to like the Senate for the first time or some kind of meeting for the first time, and it's like a trap, and they get to a point where clearly something fishy's going on.
Yeah.
The droid leading them starts going like, or like glitching and stuff. And then Bail Organa just shows up. And like that's one of the points where I'm like, well, if you don't really know who Bail is or where the story goes in the future, what's this guy doing here? It seems a little shady.
I have to ask, like, how many people do you think pick up this book and it's their first Star Wars thing?
I don't know.
I mean, I can't imagine it's not. I can't imagine it's any.
Probably not. I mean,
there's got to be one.
Maybe it's one of those things, too, where it's like sometimes like, well, clearly
Yeah.
the people watching or reading are going to know this.
Yeah.
But the character doesn't know that. So we really got to dive into the character's mindset. So
I'm just always curious, like, is there one guy that, was real bored, he's been locked in a room for a year, and the only thing in there is this
Queen
book.
Shadow.
He's like, I've read it 50 times.
Let's see who this is.
Yeah. I'm really interested. Like, I'm really into that Palpatine guy. I think he's going to do some really good work in the Republic.
He's trying to help slaves and stop pirates.
Yeah,
it's great.
exactly. The Jedi are weird. I don't know what the hell they do.
No, I don't know. And I'm not sure. But
okay.
I can't imagine that's like the target audience.
No, not at all.
But maybe there's someone.
Yeah.
What's this? This looks like a neat book. I'll get it from my grandkid. And they're like, I never read Star Wars before.
Like, I think that effort was put into the Ahsoka series for people that might not have watched Rebels, but I don't think there was any effort put into this book for people that haven't watched Episode 1 at least.
Sure. Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, you have any more thoughts on Queen Shadow?
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, there's some of our general thoughts on Queen Shadow. A little bit of spoiler stuff, I suppose, in there if you haven't read it, but we didn't dive into everything, so it's definitely a fun read. It's not super long either. I think the audiobook was 8 hours or so.
Yeah, really quick.
So it doesn't take a ton of time, but we'll get into more Padme stories in the future at some point. We'll see what 2024 has for us. Before we get into questions and stuff, one of the things we want to talk about was there's been a lot of Star Wars over the last few years, but 2023 especially has had some fun Star Wars moments for us, I think, in general.
Remember the back in the day when Star Wars was done, Episode 3 had come out, and there was going to be pretty much not much coming out. And you can be like, all right, what was my favorite Star Wars thing? Like, this one game came out, and that's the one I got.
Yeah.
Or, there's a comic book from Dark Horse, and that's the one I got. But now, when you ask me what are my top 10 favorite things of a year, I have a lot to go through.
Right? It's surprising how much there is.
And that's not for me. That's not a bad thing because that's my childhood dream.
Sure.
And just because some people don't like some of the stuff that comes out doesn't stop this child from enjoying his dream.
Like there were a lot of books back before too
Yeah.
that would come out for Legends and stuff
Yeah.
too. But there's also like not great stuff in the Legends as well. There's a little balance. So even now is like trying to find like what is it that you enjoyed and what was your favorite stuff.
Absolutely. I do kind of want to bring this up too because it was in thinking about this list and then a couple other things I've been thinking about the last week or two. In that I don't rewatch Star Wars anymore.
It's a lot, right?
When the original trilogy was all I had, that's all I watched. I watched Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 over and over and over, and my passion grew and my love grew, and I stopped thinking about, well, these guys don't like the Ewoks, and I stopped thinking about, well, this guy doesn't, Vader's lying, like all the criticism stuff that you would get in the fandom. There was nothing. It was just me rewatching.
Mm-hmm.
Then the prequels came out, and I just rewatched the prequels over and over and over again. There's nothing else to watch for me, I kind of had to force myself to do that with the sequels because of the schmodown, right, and studying. But it was in that, watching them over and over and over again, that I grew to, because I always enjoyed them my first time, but I enjoy them way more now, right?
Sure.
I haven't been doing that for The Bad Batch. I haven't been doing that for Mandalorian. I haven't been doing that for Andor. I would watch it once, really enjoy it, and then be done. But I haven't had a lot of free time, but the free time I do have is like I'm stuck here doing this, so and nothing else. So I'm gonna watch some stuff, rewatch some Star Wars, like I used to when I was a kid. And I feel like that's a missing ingredient, at least for me, maybe for some others, because there's other people out there that were kids of the prequels that watched those movies over and over and over again. It didn't matter that the critics were saying this is the worst, or hardcore Star Wars fans were saying this is the worst, because they were the target audience. They were the 10-year-olds then watching it over and over and over again. And I know that I like to be a better or to enjoy the stories more, I need to rewatch some stuff.
Sure.
So I've been rewatching like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've been rewatching Andor. I've been rewatching Mandalorian season 3. And I feel like that's missing from fandom these days.
Sure.
There's just so much to watch that you can't rewatch something, but it's in the rewatch that I care about the side characters. Sure. When I'm watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, all I care about is Vader and Obi-Wan and
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about.
There wasn't enough Vader in this.
I'm not thinking about the other characters in there that on first watch I'm just kind of waiting for their scenes to be over. But now that I'm not and I'm anticipating everything, or I should say not anticipating everything, I'm enjoying it so much more.
Sure.
I wonder if the larger Star Wars community would benefit from just maybe every once in a while try to do a rewatch of this stuff. You might feel a little bit differently now that some time has passed.
Sure. I haven't rewatched as much as I'd like to. I don't think. I've gone through it with the kids, the family. We still need to finish up the last of the sequel trilogy.
Gotcha.
We need to do that still, and then we haven't seen Ahsoka yet either. But the thing I used to always do when I was a kid is like getting closer to bedtime.
Yeah.
I would always watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
And now I find myself sometimes like I'll still put on Star Wars, but I'll put on the first 6 movies typically because I find that if I was like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna put on Obi-Wan, I'll put on Kenobi and watch that. I don't go to sleep. I watch.
You're watching,
and I'm like, I need to go to sleep, and I know the other 6 movies so much better that like I put them on, and I'm just like, it's like for me, it's that nature sound or the waves crashing on the beach,
noise,
or it's that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I know this so well. I can just picture my head while I go to sleep, and I can focus on it a little bit rather than my mind running. But whenever I put on something that, like, I don't know Mandalorian so well. I don't know maybe Book of Boba as well.
Sure.
I put those on. I find myself just staying awake and watching it. I remember, like, the first time, like, watching, like, when I was really tired and, like, The Thing was on TV. And I didn't go to sleep. I sat there watching it the whole night instead of going to sleep. Like, I'll just put this on and go to sleep watching this. And I didn't. I was awake the whole night watching that. And then it turned on, like, okay, I'll put on Star Wars and go to sleep. So, I definitely want to go through and watch more. And I have found like watching with the family and with the kids and stuff. Like I think there's elements that I've enjoyed more.
Yeah.
Even certain parts popping up where I'm like, are they gonna react to this? Like like me trying to like watch them. Like I understand a little bit better. Like why people watch reactions? Like because this is fun. Like how are they gonna react to this? Are they gonna be excited? Are they not gonna care? You know, whatever. So I definitely want to rewatch more. What I need to start doing is like when I'm like cleaning the kitchen, just like putting it on. Like, you remember when you remember like I don't know, were you ever home and like your parents would just have TV on, right? And it would just go through TV shows because you put on I don't know the Disney Channel and it's just gonna play through shows because that's what it does. There's a schedule. I don't have anymore because most everything I do is streaming now. But I was like, you know what I should do is just start putting on, like, just put on Star Wars and just let it play in the background. That's why we rewatch so much stuff sometimes, because it would just be on Stars.
Yeah.
And whatever movies were on Stars is what was on, and we just let it play through, and sometimes people would sit and watch it, and sometimes it was just background noise.
Yeah, I hosted Thanksgiving this year, and I just had TNT on.
Yeah.
Because Hulu has, like, live channels.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, just throw TNT on because it's just playing Star Wars all day.
Oh, yeah,
So,
see?
like, every once in a while I'd look up. It's a completely different movie, different scene. I'd watch, do that dad thing where you just stand in front of a couch for 4 minutes and watch something versus sit down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was doing that. Yeah.
So I just need to do that more.
Yeah.
Like put on shows or movies where it's like, well, we've already seen this. Let's just put it on. No one's watching TV.
Yeah.
Have this on. If someone watches a little bit, you watch a little bit, whatever.
I've been spending a lot of time with my dad, with him going through open heart surgery and the recovery, and he loves to have the TV on full blast, try to talk to you. He'll get a phone call. He'll put it on speaker. You're going to talk with this person, with him, with the TV on full blast,
TV's blaring.
Yeah, and I'm deaf in one ear, and ambient noise isn't great for me, and noise that's like surrounding me, and then I'm trying to focus on certain things. And he also doesn't hear very well in one ear, It's more of an age thing than it was a disability thing like me. But you just say, like, do you ever have your parents have something just on? Like, he just always has something on. He needs it, I think,
Yeah.
It just gives that white noise of something. But, yeah. So, yes, that's been happening a lot for me, Aaron.
But no. Well, let's get into some thoughts of favorite things for Star Wars over the last year. Over
Okay,
2023. Yeah.
Like I said, this isn't just like, a moment or a series. For me, it's
mine's kind of just Star Wars.
Star
Wars related.
Star Wars in
Wars
my life.
Yes.
The top things that happened the last year.
Yeah. Yeah, for us individually kind of thing. Now, I don't want to say us individually. Us, as in, I made a list, he made a list. Like, I don't know what's on your list
I have
yet.
10 things in order.
1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if I really made an order for mine.
Okay.
I have one thing on here that's not technically on the list,
Okay.
but I guess I could say it now. Was the launch of Wave Squadron.
I didn't think about that at all. Yeah, we launched a Star Wars channel.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to write that on here as just like an extra little thing here where
Yeah.
it's like, this year we launched Wave Squadron. So I appreciate everyone who's been watching Badonkagonk,
Absolutely.
who is subscribed to the channel.
Yeah.
And I hope to have more fun Star Wars content going into 2024 and throughout the
Definitely.
year.
I'm excited to get
for
into
Star
it.
Wars stuff.
Personally, the YouTube landscape of Star Wars creators, like, I just wasn't really jiving with it. I'm not saying, like, I don't like this, thus it's bad or anything like that. It just wasn't entertaining me in a certain way. There's some great ones out there. There's Star Wars Explained. Whose show we went on this year. That was a lot of fun. I didn't put it on my list. Anyway. So, yeah, one of the reasons that I was so excited to start Wave Squadron is, like, let's just, George Lucas is famous for, when I was a kid, I wanted his Flash Gordon movies, and they never came out, so I made my own.
Yeah, right?
It's like, well, yeah, there's not like a YouTube channel that I'm really loving about Star Wars right now, so I made my own, that type of thing.
Sure.
So I was very, very happy with it.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to putting maybe more into some different videos, having some fun content that maybe we haven't gotten to get to yet.
Absolutely.
Going into 2024. So.
Yep.
But, all right, well, let's see. What should I do? I titled mine, basically, just to remind me. I thought some of them were fun titles. But
Okay.
This
So
one I'll put on the bottom. I don't really have a title for it, so maybe that's why. But
Okay.
I will say Mark Hamill / Cameron commercial. Do you remember that when when Survivor was coming out? There was like a training
I
montage
remember
thing
that.
of
That
Mark
was-
Hamill and Cameron Monahan.
Monahan. Right? Is that Monahan?
I don't know. It's an M. Chat,
I might be
remind
thinking of
me.
Lost. Dominic Monahan. Okay.
Maybe. But Cameron, and I loved that little. You get. I'm sorry.
He's all happy to. You got 2 lightsabers.
Yeah, right. So I thought that was just. I remember watching it. Honestly, what reminded me of it was it was a Wave Squadron video. Like I was looking through because I was looking to see what all books we covered for the year. And when I was scrolling through, I saw that. I'm like, dude, I loved that.
That one was good.
Yeah,
That's a great
So I
one.
put that down as one of my favorite things because like how often I don't really remember a lot of Star Wars commercials. I don't see a lot of commercials. I feel like anymore. Like not as much as I used to when I was a kid on like Nickelodeon or something.
Yeah.
But that was just a fun moment,
Yeah.
and it's like my favorite old and some of my favorite new stuff.
Yeah, sure. That's a great one. Well, my honorable mention. You just had an honorable mention too, right?
The launch of Wave Squadron. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. It's a very personal one. Like most on my list is stuff I think a lot of people will, not a lot, but some people will enjoy too. But this one, my honorable mention is that Mark Hamill wished me happy birthday with giving me a cake on Twitter.
He did.
Yeah.
That's true.
During the year that
I was
Twitter's
upset.
imploding and turned into X, but still.
Yeah.
Remember
I remember being upset, like, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what? What happened? It's
Yeah.
like, look at this bull crap.
Yeah, that was
and
great.
I showed it to you, and it's like, look at this. And I was
That
like,
was-
I'm happy
yeah.
for you. And then you took my phone with the force.
Yeah.
But no,
Well,
that was really cool.
I remember how that video, it wasn't even a video. We were getting ready to
We were
start
getting ready to do a
something.
video, yeah.
And you're looking at your phone and you're like, God dang it. And Calvin goes, what could you possibly be looking at? And I said, you naked? Can you imagine? You're looking at yourself like, dang it. So I that's how that clip starts.
But that was a really cool moment, though. That
It
was really neat.
yeah. So that's my honorable mention. Number 10 for me, this is going to be another, just me and Aaron, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it too. When we found that Emperor Palpatine says Order 66, if you click a door in Jedi Fallen Order 66 times.
That was on mine, too.
Is that on yours?
Yeah.
Well, there's a good reason,
didn't
because
think-
that was amazing.
Sure, and that was you and me. Like, and that's one of those
It's
things
just
too,
me and
where
you.
it's like this game.
Yep.
This game came out before this year.
Yeah.
But it
But
was
that
something
was-
we
yeah.
found this year preparing for Jedi Survivor
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and it was a fun experience going through. And like we kind of played through like just looking at things in the
Yeah.
game and just talking about stuff we saw,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun too. And maybe that's another thing we could do at
Yeah.
some point is like maybe after you play Survivor, maybe we play through Survivor together, and it's
that
not
would be
so
fun.
much about experiencing the story, but about like just
Talking about
what
stuff.
else do we
Yeah.
see and what can we talk about and notice that we didn't notice our first time playing
Yeah.
or something,
I know we're talking about 2023, but in 2024, I will be starting Jedi Survivor
Yes.
at the beginning of the year.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be good. It'd be fun. But no, it'd be neat playing through and just like maybe play through an easy. I won't try the hard difficulty.
I get you.
But like play through an easy so we can get through it.
Get through it.
But to explore more and like just talk about Star Wars while we
Find
do it.
Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Find the cool story moments that need to be
Like when we
dived
found like
deeper.
the
Yeah.
what was it, the battle droid heads or
Yeah.
whatever it
Clone
was, or
trooper
clone trooper
helmets,
helmets
yeah.
and things like that. Like I like that.
Yeah. But no, that moment was special because I think you doubted it real hard.
Man, we are wasting time doing this, So I definitely I had that on my list too because
Uh-huh.
it was just a fun moment for me.
Yeah.
So what was that?
That's my 10.
That's your 10?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll let you have another one.
All right.
Because now I have 2 marked off.
Okay. I will go with my number 9. And yeah, this might be a little self-serving, but hey, I had a lot of fun. It was our game Legends or Myths.
Oh, yeah.
You
That
remember?
was an interesting thing. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot about some ridiculous Star Wars legends.
Ridiculous Star Wars facts.
To the point that I'm like, I don't know. Because
Yeah.
all of this sounds so ridiculous. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what the right answer is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Legends or Myth. It's definitely going to return next year, but I gotta really do some more. I use my good ones, so I
Sure.
gotta dive deep and find some more. And there are more. Trust me, there are more. But I hope people enjoyed that. It's one of my favorite video of ours to just go back and watch.
Yeah.
I've watched it, just that video, and I almost never watch one of our videos all the way through. I'll look for like, how did the editor do this one part, or are people paying attention? Are they clicking off? I'll look at analytics, but that's one that I can just watch and have fun with. So I want to bring that back. But that was one of the highlights of my Star Wars of the year.
Okay. Yeah. I will go for my number 8, which I believe is probably Love Blossoming is what I called it.
Love Blossom.
Which was we read Dark Disciple.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And one, I like Quinlan a lot, but we don't get a lot of Quinlan. He was in
Yeah.
an episode or two of Clone Wars, but this was more focused on Quinlan, but also Asajj Ventress. And we get to see this relationship between the two of them grow.
Yeah.
And leading all the way up to like there's elements where you're like, is he going dark side? What's happening with this? And I really enjoyed not just like the book, but like getting more Quinlan and how often like I don't feel like there's a ton of like there's Anakin and Padme. Like there's a love story there. We have a little bit that we touch on with like Obi-Wan and Satine.
Sure.
You know, like it's not like Han and Leia, I guess you get that, but
Sure.
it's not like in the Jedi Order either. So like especially with prequel stuff and the Jedi Order era kind of thing, I don't feel like we get a lot of that with a lot of the characters we usually follow. And I thought it was interesting to kind of see that happening between one, a Jedi, and two, a fallen Jedi / fallen Sith.
Darksider. Yeah.
And I really
Reformed Darksider.
yeah, and those are two characters that I like a lot, and I really wanted to see more story with them, and I really enjoyed like their story with that. And I wish we could have seen it as like a Clone Wars arc, like it was kind of meant to be, but it was great.
I'm sure it would have had its strengths done as an arc on the Clone Wars, but because it was a novel, it used its strengths as a novel to also just be very entertaining. But anytime you can have two characters that one starts here and one starts here, and they both actually end up here, but it's here that's the most interesting, the middle where they cross and they can understand and relate to each other on paths that they almost shouldn't be on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, great book. Fantastic discussion we had about that one. And I remember recommending it to the normies when we were there.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, especially like as far as like finishing Clone Wars, that's another great book to go because like you want to know what happens with Asajj Ventress and stuff, you
do.
know. So yeah, that one's great, and I look forward to seeing hopefully in the future what happens to Quinlan. You know,
Yeah. Sure.
like we have his name on a wall.
On the path.
So what does that mean? Where'd he go? So no.
Yep.
So that's my number 8.
That's a good one. My number 8 is venturing outside of our galaxy in Ahsoka. I mean, you know, the Ahsoka series has a bunch to talk about, but one of the most interesting and surprising things it did for me was we are not in a galaxy far, far away. We're in another galaxy far, far away,
Yeah.
which has never happened.
No.
We've certainly talked about it. You know, the Legends had the Yuzvang Vong.
Yeah, and I believe SWTOR dealt
SWTOR
with
had
like
some stuff,
another like
yeah.
galaxy thing kind of coming to ours and stuff.
But never on screen, you know, filmed media did we ever go that way. And with it comes the idea of like, the witches of Dathomir aren't from Dathomir. You know, they showed up. It's like the Lords of the Sith aren't the Sith; they're the Lords of them. You know, that type of thing. But the idea that that actually comes from a different galaxy, that this idea of the magics and the Force, we've always kind of had to, well, what's the reconciliation of the actual thing that's happening there? With this, you don't necessarily have to do that anymore. You can, and it's fun, and you might still be right, but it comes from somewhere else, and it's. But even then, we have the Force gods there, right? We have the father and the daughter and the son statues on a far away, another galaxy, which makes you think, did we bring that to that galaxy?
Which way did it go?
Or did that come to ours, you know?
Yeah.
Really intriguing stuff and kind of laying groundwork, in my opinion, laying groundwork for some stuff that I think Star Wars needs, which is just kind of like some freshness and the ability to tell much larger, distant stories. They don't all have to be, you know, hey, where are we in the time frame? Well, then only this is happening. It's like, no, this is a very big story.
Yeah.
Any
New
one
things.
point you're in the timeline, there could be billions of stories happening, you know, that are very strange, very fantastical, and very Star Wars.
Yeah. No, I get you. I think it's an interesting new thread that we can travel along, right?
Sure, yeah.
That'd be really cool.
That was my 8.
For 7, I'll go to this one now, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch on it too much,
Okay.
mainly because you haven't gotten to it yet. But all I called it was The Force from Jedi Survivor. There's a moment in there that was just really cool, story-wise, gameplay-wise, just a lot of elements and stuff too that I thought was really cool. That hopefully at some point after you finish the game next year, we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more.
Sure.
But I thought it was really cool, and people who have played it may know what I'm talking about.
The Force.
But I don't want to say much more than that right now.
Okay.
But there was a really cool part in there. There's another one that I thought of first, which I'm definitely there's nothing I can say about it. I don't think without like having any spoilers necessarily in it, which I don't want to go into here yet. But this was the second one I think that I have in there too. So I'll just put them both there as a tie.
What number is that? Your 7?
That was number 7. Yeah.
I have to say that the last half of the year, I feel like for me it's been very easy to be distracted. Sure. There's a lot going on, both good, bad, in the middle. Survivor came out, but guess what? Tears of the Kingdom came out too. I wasn't sitting there like, I wish I could play Survivor right now. I was like, no, I'm playing Zelda. Zelda's my favorite video game series of all time, And then I had a bunch of other stuff. I ended up, getting a new place, doing a move, my dad getting ill. Regular blind wave work is,
it's already busy. Just on its own.
It's already busy. There's a lot you have to keep track of. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy for me not to think that I have a whole brand new Jedi in the vein of Fallen Order story to get to with new stories, new characters, new locations, new things with Cal, my buddy. Mm-hmm. And I haven't thought about it, except for like the last 2 weeks. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I really want to start. But that's how I'm gonna kick off 2024 with starting Jedi Survivor. And I am getting to the point now. And I know people might find this ironic. I can't wait.
I can't wait. I'm so excited now. I can't wait for it anymore.
I've been able to wait pretty easily, but now that things are starting not to slow down, but to wind down at the end of the year, I can't wait.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Excited.
Okay, so my number 7 is... It's kind of cheating. I just want to say Thrawn.
Okay.
I know we got Thrawn in Rebels. I know that we had Thrawn from Legends. But this has just been an incredible year for Thrawn. For me, not everybody needs to agree, but for me, like the first line he says when he walks in about, I can't remember the line right now, but like the way Lars Mikkelsen plays the character is exactly what I've wanted, and I got it. Mm-hmm. And we were there 8-9 rows back when everybody at Star Wars Celebration were watching the Ahsoka trailer, and we see the back of Thrawn's head. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I'm doing that thing I always do where I'm like, look, I can see the slope of the shoulders.
Look at his ears.
I can tell it's not. I'm like, those are his ears. Those are his ears.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's him. He's there. Everybody else, we won't really know yet. Mm-hmm. And then Lars Mikkelsen walks onto stage. And that is a Star Wars moment that I will never forget. I'm bungling it in with a bunch of Thrawn stuff,
Sure, yeah.
How awesome I found his character.
Well, we had 3 books we read this year too,
And absolutely, this trilogy with a new trilogy on the horizon for us too.
Yeah, that we still haven't read yet.
That maybe 2024 will give us that as well. But just the sheer moment of hype of when he came out, and then they put my face doing this on the screen.
Stupid face on the screen.
On the screen at the end of Celebration to talk about the highlights of Celebration, which ironically was one of my highlights of Celebration.
Yeah,
that's cool. I was walking around Celebration. I didn't even go to the closing ceremonies.
No,
but
Twitter blew up.
My Twitter blew up, and I kept thinking, like, what did I do? What did I say? Why are people...
What fingers did I put up this time?
And then people started stopping me, like, as I was walking, like, hey, you were just up on the screen. I'm like, what? I missed it. But... a really fun moment.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great.
And I love, I haven't done it for a very long time, but there's a video that the official Star Wars YouTube put up of that moment. And it's really funny for me, personally, to go into the comments and every once in a while it's like, is that fucking Eric from Blind Wave at, 12:07, whatever the time code was? Mm-hmm. I just get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not on my list, but in the same vein, one memory I have, and it's from Celebration, was when they announced Ray Stevenson coming out,
yeah,
and 3 people jumped up and cheered, and that was you, me, and Calvin.
That was Blind Wave.
And we were like, yeah! And everyone else was like, no one jumped up. I was like, well, we're happy.
You know what? We were just slightly ahead of the curve because it did not take long at all for when that show started to people to go like, oh, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved hearing a recent interview. Dave came out and said that he and Ray talked about this character, and eventually at one point he says, Ray Stevenson, hey, you know you're the bad guy, right? Like, I need you to be the bad guy here. And Ray goes, I disagree. And I think that's one of the most baller things I've ever heard an actor say. To his director.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. Actually,
I don't think I'm the
no.
bad guy.
And,
but you know what?
Yeah.
The best bad guys believe that, too.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The worst villains are the ones who are just there to be bad.
Yeah.
The ones that are the best ones where they think they are doing the right thing. And sometimes that's what makes it. That's what makes like Thrawn sometimes great. That's what makes him great. That's what make there's lots of villains. Like,
and that's what's gonna make replacing him very difficult.
Yeah.
Because not every actor can look at your director and be like, no, actually, I don't. He's not the villain. I will not be taking that note.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. For my number, we're on 6.
6.
Vader's walking suit. So in Thrawn 2, which I think was Alliances, there's a segment, and one like they set it up beforehand, which was great because they had like from a clone trooper, or from a trooper perspective, I guess not a clone trooper, but from a trooper's perspective of seeing Darth Vader come out and how menacing he is, and the horror and how he's here, our hero to help us fight. This enemy. It was a cool viewpoint.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where it's revealed that this time that Vader has come out, he is off over here controlling a separate suit to trick the enemies into wasting their resources on it so that he can attack back. And I remember getting to that point and like reading it and that having like, what? And I was like, I rewound. I listened to it again. I'm like, this is so cool.
Drone Vader. Yeah.
I loved it, and that's this is one of my first like thoughts whenever I was like, what's my favorite things from Star Wars this year? And I was like, the empty Vader suit walking, being controlled by the Force from Vader is probably one of my favorite things that I know it's not from this year, which is probably why it's a little bit lower on this, but it popped in my head. I'm like, that was so cool, and I love that so much.
That's a real good one.
It's just a great moment.
I love that. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
My number 6 is it's from the Ahsoka show. It's Ahsoka versus Morgan Elsbeth.
Okay,
that duel,
the goddaughter
with
of
with the blade of Talzin, right? I personally, for my money, that's the direction I think that some Star Wars fights need to start going in again. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was performed fantastic, and it gave me hope that we're gonna, I'm not saying the other lightsaber fights in that series weren't just as good. That was just my favorite of those.
Sure. I definitely think, too, like Ahsoka's lightsaber fights, like as the series goes on, it gets better, right? Like it progresses, which, I mean, if you look at the original trilogy, first lightsaber fight, it's not great.
Yeah.
But as it goes on, it gets better to like a big, like emotional, climactic fight,
I should, I guess, preview that I'm leaving out another performance in that show that I will get to later in my list, and especially in terms of lightsaber choreography. But I just really enjoyed that fight, almost as a placeholder for the direction of Star Wars visual language with lightsaber fights. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, I have that there.
Good. All right. Number 5 for me.
Yes, sir.
I have. And it's something that we've talked about before from another topic of Countdowns 5 or something we had, was the return of the Zillow Beast.
The Zillow Beast. I didn't bother putting it on my list. I knew it was going to be on
I was going to have the Zillow Beast on there. I'll put it on there myself. No.
The Bad Batch Season 2.
Bad Batch Season 2, the Zillow Beast. Something that I almost to the point of joking, because I'm like, are they ever going to do this?
Yep.
Come on, Dave, please just do this thing.
Yep.
Like, they mentioned it. They had 2 episodes. They mentioned it, and it never came back in the Clone Wars. Just
never.
Bring back the Zillow Beast. Yep. And then we got into Bad Batch. I'm like, Bad Batch, what better time to bring back the Zillow Beast? And they didn't do it in Season 1. And then we got Season 2, and I'm like, bring back. And then there was like a little creature, and I'm like, what is it? What is this thing? And it looked so weird.
It did look weird.
But because it evolved.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I was so excited for that. So I'm just so glad. And I hope that we haven't seen the end. It didn't. I feel like there's more. I feel like there's more story there.
I think so.
So I look forward to more Zillow beats in the future. But that was one of my favorite things.
You're right. Like, my list is invalid because I didn't include it. I knew you were going to do it, so I didn't bother.
Sure.
But it was in my top 5 moments of Star Wars, was you predicting the Zillow beats coming back. Definitely.
I was just so happy for that.
So that was number 5?
5, I believe, yes.
Okay. This is a different one. My 5th favorite moment was going to Indiana and watching the finale of the Clone Wars with the normies.
Yeah.
And also having a discussion here on Wave Squadron about Star Wars as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah. No, it's fun to be able to get a chance. That and also, like Star Wars Explained, getting a chance to talk Star Wars with some other people and stuff is fun. I also love when we got, going to Star Wars Celebration and getting chances to talk Star Wars with just other fans and just people that love Star Wars in general. It's fun to do.
You're right. Like, we would get, 100 2 or 3 minute little moments at Star Wars Celebration. It is kind of like, all right, what are you excited by? And they'd go into it. I'm like, all right, let's do, that was a lot of fun. But I guess I'm putting just at the top of that the normies visit just because I personally, I know that you don't watch a lot of reactions, but I watch reactions to stuff I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Clone Wars, and the normies did it. It took them a couple years to get through it. But
it's a little long.
Yeah, it was a fun reaction series, and it was just really cool that they invited us to come and set the record straight on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. No, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't have that on my list, but I also enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. But if you haven't, seen it, well, one, you can watch their 2-part finale that both Aaron and I sat in for, the Clone Wars proper. And if you haven't seen it, there's a very long, almost like an hour-long video of us just talking, just preaching on a Sunday, Star Wars. And it feels like that. And it's one of the greatest compliments another YouTube channel could give to us, which is just being around you guys for the last 2 days has made me a better Star Wars fan. Or I should say a bigger Star Wars fan.
Bigger Star Wars fan, sure.
3 different people from that YouTube channel said that to us, So that was really cool.
I think we just often permeate our enjoyment of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And, other people are like, oh, man, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
There's something, this isn't Star Wars related. It's actually Spider-Man 2 related, where there was something that chat and stuff told me about something in Spider-Man, and I kind of offered what my thoughts on the situation was as well. And then after finally beating it, I was able to go home and talk to my kids about it.
Yeah.
And I brought the same topic up to them, and they're like, yeah, that's so dumb, da-da-da-da. And they were going through some things, the same things chat said, and I don't know if it was 100% them thinking it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have known, so I think there's a little internet bias in there too that they read or heard or watched or whatever. So I was like, okay, what do you think about this? And I offered another perspective, and then they're like, Did you find that somewhere? Or did you just think that yourself? It's like, well, I just thought that myself based on how the game went through and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, huh. And it felt like they kind of tipped a little bit backwards the other way, where I'm like, just thinking a little different and trying to
I get you.
relate it in a different way sometimes just changes some viewpoints of oh, well, you know what? That kind of makes it a little bit better than what I was thinking it was, And I think we do that a lot with Star Wars sometimes too.
We do. I mean, that's the one thing about doing Wave Squadron is we're able to talk about it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But just by nature of doing our normal blind wave work, we're kind of insular in that I don't really let outside opinions change my opinion.
Sure.
Which people that are coming to watch want to watch my opinion. So I don't go do that, so that mine is more
yours,
singular, I guess. And maybe that's why I put the normies visit on my list, because I got to go out and just speak with other people about it,
Yeah, no, that's fun. It's fun to do that.
Yeah, it is.
All right, number 4 for me is The Best, which is, we had in Mandalorian, Ahmed Best showed back up. That is one of yours?
It's my number 2.
Number 2!
Halloran Beck!
Dude, that was one of those things that was so shocking and also just great to have happen.
And so rewarding.
Yeah.
Not just for him, for me.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was so fun, and I was so happy. And given how that episode of Mandalorian ended with him, I guess that episode, I can't remember if that episode ended. I think it ended with him. I don't remember. But the last we see of him there, and I'm like, ooh, what's that mean now?
I know.
Can we see him more? Yeah. So I was very excited for that, and
me too,
that
man.
That was enough where I'm like, that was another one.
Yeah.
Vader suit. That was one that popped in my head early on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to make sure that's on my list.
All right. Yeah, that's my number 2, which is, again, it's pretty high. You know, that's
No.
when we went to Star Wars Chicago, and they were doing the 20th anniversary. I think it was the 20th anniversary of Episode 1 at that point, right? And they had like Anthony Daniel. They had some Episode 1 actors come up on stage. And when Ahmed Best got on stage, that place blew up. People went nuts. And you get this feeling that everybody knows. I mean, he's been pretty public about what he went through. People know that happened to him.
Yeah.
But everybody in that theater were like us when we were young, and we watched those movies over and over again. Like, regardless of how much I feel about Jar Jar, I can quote every line. You know?
Yeah. No.
And the Clone Wars did nothing but push that over for me, you know?
Yeah. And 10-year-old me loved Jar Jar.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. I'm like, aha, that guy's so funny.
Yeah.
You know?
And
like,
when, you
silly
know,
Jar Jar.
when you watch with a 10-year-old, again, Lucas's target audience, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Jar Jar is fantastic because he takes all this levity off of these other terrible things that are happening.
Yeah.
And, man, like, I was so happy for him when we were in Chicago, and I got, like, emotional. And I knew as soon as I saw him in Mandalorian, I knew there wasn't going to be this pushback of, like, oh, the worst part of the prequels is now in Mandalorian. No. That was a sample of what the entire Star Wars audience did, which was just love that he got a chance to come in and be, like, the coolest Jedi we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He had, you know, what other Jedi has that amount of time and is that badass?
Yeah. No,
You
it was
know?
great. I loved it. It was so cool. It was one of my
Yeah.
favorite things that have happened this year. Like, one of
Yeah.
my favorite parts of Mandalorian for Season 3 was Ahmed Best having a chance to come back and save Grogu.
Save
You
Grogu.
know? I was like, yes.
2 lightsabers.
Yeah, give him the back.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
And
yes.
he's the same character that he's played in the Jedi Temple Challenge
Yeah,
games. That
which is
was
cool.
cool that he got to do it, but also kind of felt kind of like a, I don't know, almost like Lucasfilm throwing a bone. Like, yeah, we're doing this thing. You want to do it? You know, it's nothing crazy. But do you want a cameo in our highest viewed television series and save the person or the baby that everyone loves? You know?
Yeah.
You want us to give you
Right?
the coolest role to ever exist in Star Wars?
Yeah. Because, like, ever since, was it a vision in Season 1 or 2 when you see, like, there's that element there of, like, dude, he was there. Like, oh, man. How did he get out? What happened, you know?
Exactly.
And now we finally get some of the answers. I'm like, oh, my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Great moment. That's my number 2.
All right. Well, that's my number 4.
Okay. My number
I have
4?
3, 2, and 1 right now.
Okay, I have a number 4.
Okay.
My number 4 is Gorian Shard's design from The Mandalorian Season 3, the pirate captain.
Okay.
I love the, like, vegetable salad
Yeah.
pirate. I talked earlier, like, Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth, like, that fight. Like, ooh, more of this. Go in this direction. Gorian Shard's design, this is number 4. This is high up. Go that direction with these. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some stuff has to be visual effects artists coming in, doing computer-generated graphics. AI is going to change. The next 10 years of visual effects is going to be nuts, and there's no stopping it. But when you can give me a little magic, it's just he's a salad Muppet. But I bought it and I enjoyed it, and while it's not 100% real to me, it's more than 100% magic to me when you do that type of thing.
Sure, I get what you mean.
Like, Baby Yoda works so well because he's a puppet, not because he looks like a puppet.
Yeah.
It's because he's a puppet.
I mean, he looks silly sometimes when he's doing his little walk thing.
But it's better.
But I love
It's
that
better
it's
than
real.
if I didn't notice his walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion, but maybe there's, I don't know. I'm sure some psychologists can be like, actually, this is why you like that. I don't care, psychologist.
Yeah.
I want more puppetry.
More puppets, more practical stuff, right?
Well,
It's
I mean, practical stuff is fun. I don't want to, get into the trap that the sequels did, which is like, don't even mention visual effects. It's just all on camera now,
Sure.
because they were overcorrecting for people not liking the prequels. But the prequels also, George Lucas just talked about the CG stuff because he's trying to sell all of these motion picture houses his brand new technologies. And where can you get it? Lucasfilm. Here's the bill, So he's not talking about the incredible model work that was done in the prequels and the incredible amount of actual in-camera stuff that was done in the prequels. We didn't market it that way. So it's all the kind of marketing stuff. So I like that Mandalorian goes the way of like, hey, we're going to have a cameo with Zeb in it, and it's going to be some pretty intensive visual effects with the computer-generated model. Or we go down to Costco, we get a bunch of fake plants, put them together, and then this guy talks.
A bunch of fake plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
No, I like it a lot too.
I love that design choice, and I want more, and Mandalorian Season 3 showed that that's something they're going to start doing again.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
All right. Well, my number 3, and I'm hoping this isn't your number 1, given what your number 4 was loving Hayden.
Okay, it's not.
So at Star Wars Celebration,
yeah.
like we filmed Mandalorian there a few times, and we got it set up to film.
Yeah.
And when we were doing it, we were like, just play that YouTube video. And we played a YouTube video, and that YouTube video was Hayden Christensen on the Star Wars Celebration stage, like talking and being interviewed. And during that segment, like we just sat there and watched the whole thing, and there was like so much love for Hayden during that. Like that was in my mind, like so much when I was thinking about this list and stuff like that too.
It was just like 6 minutes of love.
Yeah, like
before they even asked him a question,
and people were just cheering and stuff. And it felt
you guys sure make a guy feel welcome.
Yeah, feeling emotional stuff. And it's the same thing with Ahmed that we talked about a little bit ago, you know. And I'm trying to think of the other actor from the sequel trilogy who got kind of the same stuff that
Kelly
Ahmed
Marie
did.
Tran.
Kelly, yeah. I want to say Rose, but I'm like, I know that's not her name.
Yeah.
Like the same thing Hayden had happen too, you know, and it's just the change now to look. We know you went through this; those people were dumb.
Yeah, we
love you. We're glad to have you back, and we had more Hayden this year in Star Wars than
ever.
Yeah, since the prequels, you know, like
I mean, I know Obi-Wan Kenobi was last year, but still.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Yeah. There's been so much more over the last bit that I've been like, yes, this is so cool. I love this. So that moment there was just one of my favorites. Where like we sat and watched the whole video. It was a test to see if our audio was working, and we just watched the whole.
We
video.
were not supposed to watch that video.
No, we didn't. And then we filmed it, I think, and just like, well, we'll put that up.
Yeah, I think that's how the video ends. It's like, oh, we're recording.
I guess we'll put this up. So like that is definitely one of my favorite moments for Star Wars for me for this year.
That's a really good one. I had a lot of fun in London. I cannot wait for Japan. Yeah. Like, because London, I mean, you don't feel super out of place. I feel like we're going to feel a lot more out of place in Japan, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Star Wars and ramen.
Yeah.
And maybe one of them, like, Japanese, like, arcade locations. I hear that they have some cool arcade things.
Sure.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. Okay.
I got 2 left now.
All right. Well, I have then okay. I'll just go with, I'm really curious what your next 2 are, but I'll just say it anyway. My next one, which is my number 2, is, and if you haven't seen Season 2 of The Bad Batch yet, plug your ears for a little bit. Echo Sacrifice in Star Wars The Bad Batch. Since when do we ever take orders?
It's a really good moment.
Yeah. Love that moment. Very high up for me this year. I still like, there's that part of you in the back of your head where it's like, well, Maul survived, and Palpatine somehow he returned, and and you want to be like, am I even? Did I even have the right? It's tech. I mean tech.
Tech.
I'm totally mean tech.
Wait, what did you say?
I said Echo.
Oh, I just filled in tech there.
No, I'm sure everybody else did too. My bad. Sometimes when you talk so much Star Wars, the wrong Star Wars comes out. I meant tech, not Echo. But it's because I guess Echo had a death that he came back from, so maybe I'm projecting. But no, I mean tech. His sacrifice, his story in Season 2, being able to explore people that aren't necessarily conventional in the way they think.
Yeah. And
that doesn't matter because just like Clone Force 99 is named for 99, and just because you are not perfect doesn't mean you're not a soldier. And I love Tech's sacrifice in that.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
It was great. is my number one.
That's your number one.
It's probably my favorite thing.
That's the thing. I was looking at him like he's got to have this somewhere.
Yeah, it was like probably my favorite thing from the last year. Not necessarily
Yeah.
favorite in the sense of like, oh man, I really loved it, but also like it was emotional and it had meaning to it and stuff too. And a lot of Star Wars is about sacrifice in general, you know. So I love that.
It affected me a lot. I don't want people to think that I'm being disingenuous because I put the wrong character's name when I said it, but very effective and very an amazing performance by D. Bradley Baker, who's done so many performances as the clones that we kind of just like take that for granted. But we can't, when a new one comes, we need to keep saying it. Yeah, like, good job, buddy.
No, and I've even said too. We recently on Blind Wave podcast did our rankings and stuff too, and I was like, you know what? I think Bad Batch for me is above like Mandalorian. Like we were talking about where to place things and stuff like that too, and I think Bad Batch for me it hits on like all notes. Like one thing I love about it is what I also love about Rebels is that it covers one team and you get to really travel and be with this team and see their journey and stuff too, and it dives into like, you know, Bad Batch, but also like maybe we get a little bit of Cody here, or maybe we get a little, like what's the change like and what's it like, and it's Clone Wars put so much into the clones. Bad Batch also puts so much into the clones, and I really enjoy that. And Tech's sacrifice at the end of season 2 was just such a big moment in that it's definitely one of my favorite things. Bad Batch has been one of my favorite things, not just because of Zillow Beast, you know.
Sure.
So yeah,
and you know, that's this year. Next year, season 3, the final season of the Bad Batch. We saw a pretty hefty trailer at Celebration. I'm still surprised, like, after the writer's strike and they couldn't do much marketing for Ahsoka, like at least conventional marketing, because of it and stuff. I thought, surely they're going to start releasing some of those trailers, the Acolyte and what else did we see?
Acolyte, Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew. We saw that trailer. The Bad Batch. We saw that like 2 or 3 times. They showed us that trailer, remember? They haven't put it out.
I remember that we watched it. I don't remember the trailer. I'd have to watch it again or something like that.
I remember. Yeah. But I guess it's also one of those things where, like, trailers always have temporary visual effects. Sometimes stuff is cut. Stuff is still editorialized. So those trailers might not be a good representation of where those things are at right now.
Sure.
So maybe that's why they haven't released them. But looking forward to that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my second on the list here is live-action Clone Wars.
Episode 5 of Ahsoka?
Yeah.
My number 1 is Anakin returning in the live-action Clone Wars version. But honestly, it's not even just that.
This is the whole segment of everything,
it's
right?
Anakin Skywalker, more powerful than you can possibly imagine, coming back and giving his Padawan another lesson.
Yeah. I love Anakin. Like, we hear Hayden Christensen say snips. Which I thought was great,
Sure.
you know. I
Those are
love
great moments.
being there in a live action world between worlds. Then like getting to get glimpses of the Clone Wars, or at least elements of the Clone Wars, as maybe not from the show, but just the Clone Wars. With
the
live
fog
action.
of war in Ahsoka's mind.
Yeah, with live action, like little Ahsoka and Hayden Christensen dressed in a Clone Wars armor. Yeah. Like just all that. And then their fight was fun too. I really enjoyed their fight.
The fight was great. That's why that's why I'm saving Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber skills come from Hayden Christensen, having trained for months and months and months for the prequels.
Yeah.
You never forget that.
Sure.
You never forget those that, like, he has muscle memory of that.
Yeah.
So when you put that lightsaber back in his hand, it's like people riding a bike. He just knows how to do it. And it's never been more clear than Hayden Christensen coming back and being like, I can do this. I still can. You know, it comes from his ranch in Canada and just stunts on everybody, you know?
Yeah, no, it's great. So that whole segment there of just having her wake up and turn around and he's there, like, and then like there's just so many cool elements there. The flashes in between Vader, Anakin, and stuff too, while looking into the fog of war. And
my absolute favorite part of that entire episode is Anakin's trying to get his lesson across, and Ahsoka cannot stop thinking about the benefit of your training. You become Darth Vader. Isn't the well poisoned? Like, isn't everything that I thought was good about me actually bad because of you? And Anakin, is that what this is about? And he has this great line where he's like Ahsoka, everything good about me is you, and don't take that from me.
No, I love it. It's so good. Like he gets tainted by Palpatine,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that he was bad to begin with.
And he's like, all right, back to the beginning.
Yeah.
If this is the lesson you want, let's do it. And he pulls out all the Vader to get her to realize, like, hey, you can't stop. You have to keep fighting. If you don't, you will die. Do you want to die? No, I don't want to die. Then get up.
Yeah.
It's great.
And what that does for her as a character who has lost her hope,
Yeah.
And is like, what does everything mean anyway?
Yeah, we go right into the Purgle scene with the whales and the an Ahsoka that's been reborn.
She finds her connection and stuff back to like the Force and her
Literally
hope
baptized
and
in the Force. She
Yeah.
literally goes through the water.
Yeah. Well, that whole segment is in the water,
It is.
and then like she goes down, she comes back out, and she's
Yeah.
changed. And
That's the other part of
I
it
love
too. Jason Syndulla standing on the shores being like, do you hear that? And you're like, what? Like, the lightsabers. Oh, what a magical moment.
Yeah. And it's like you're hearing like there's the waves,
Yeah.
and there's the lightsabers, and then like,
Yeah.
or are they the same thing, or are they different? And I love it.
It's a nice moment for me, but it speaks to the 10-year-old in me looking at this 10-year-old, and I'm able to like insert myself in there.
Yeah.
That's why I really enjoyed Ahsoka. I think that Dave is nailing like, well, who is this for? Like, well, it can be for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Andor. We put Andor in our S tier of our ranking this year. But Andor is for adults.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily for kids.
Yeah.
And all Star Wars doesn't have to be for kids, but the movies do, I think.
Yeah.
They got to be able to know who the bad guy is, know that Anakin's doing something wrong, know that Luke is trying to do something right, and they got to be able to care,
Yeah.
So,
And I think Ahsoka did a really good job with a lot of that, and also just finding a good meld of like Star Wars fans who have seen a lot, and Star Wars fans who maybe haven't.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to some people that have said like, I enjoyed it, and I've never seen Clone Wars or Rebels.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was fun, and
Yep.
I talked to other people who's like, oh, this was really fun, like taking this information and watching this.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I enjoyed that a lot, and that's why it's up there. It didn't beat the Bad Batch moments.
Yeah.
Like some of the moments there, but I love that so much.
That was our list. That was our top 10, right, of the best Star Wars for us in 2023. And I'm sure, there's stuff in there that I didn't like this year that I could find. But we shouldn't focus on fighting what we hate, but saving what we love.
Yeah. That's what Star Wars is about.
Yep.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that segment there. We have a few minutes. We can maybe get a question in.
Yeah, sorry.
We went a little longer with some of our topics of our top 10s than
We can do
thought
this,
we were.
Aaron. We can answer questions. Let's get right into it.
You want to get right into it?
Get a question.
All right. Well, let's just go with. Make sure we get this right here, Dragon. Survivor when, Eric?
Beginning of next year.
Beginning of next
When
year.
we come back from our break, I will be starting it. I think I'm going to be doing it 2 times a week right here on Wave Squadron. You can watch live, and then we're also going to be having a weekly highlight come out of those 2 streams for the people that can't sit there and watch, me play for 8 hours, whatever I'm going to play.
Sure.
Because I'm sure it's going to happen just like Tears of the Kingdom. I planned to stream for 3 hours, but I went for 8.
Yeah. That he will do that kind of stuff all the time. So he may only stream for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. We'll see.
All right. No, we covered that one there with Arrow. Do you have a dream Star Wars role? I guess we can cover Scott Too Hot, who says, "Do you have a dream Star Wars role?" I don't know if that means.
I want to play Clone Wars era Ray Stevenson.
You want to see
Yeah,
that?
Baylan Skull. Oh, no, I want to play him.
You want a game where you
Yeah.
play as him?
No, I want to be him.
You yourself. So
Yes.
that is you as a dream
That's
Star
me.
Wars role.
If they're casting a character, I want to be Clone Wars Baylan Skull.
Okay.
You have to admit, his lightsaber style is like my lightsaber style.
I really don't have a role that I want to be. I want to be a Jedi. I
Yeah.
feel like, but I don't know what Jedi. I don't have a specific Jedi I want to be.
I wanted to say they actually came and stole my style and put it in there because I hear Dave Filoni steals people's ideas and put them in there. It's a thing I've heard that happens.
But that was your style?
Yeah, that was mine.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Ronnie says Life Day was last month.
Well, we celebrate a little bit differently here in Ohio.
Yeah. I don't know the all the canon stuff. I was looking up when Life Day is, and I saw it was in November. But from what I understand,
right.
that's mainly because that's just when the holiday special came out, right?
Yeah.
So that was their Christmas.
Look, we got these today.
We did.
What can we say?
We did.
We got them over there by the tree because we have a Christmas mailbag coming out. And for Christmas Day, which we know is December 25th, you can watch us open them.
Yes. Yeah. It'd be great. It was a lot of fun. Let's go down a little bit there on the questions. The right ones, or is that all there is on the... Yes. Nope, that's it. Okay. How about... Steve says, I hope you guys do a review for the Old Republic game and comics next year. Enjoy my mailbag gifts. The Old Republic. I've played KOTOR, but I don't think I've ever actually finished the game. There was always something that prevented me, and I've never played KOTOR 2.
The Sith Lords.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've never played that one. I'm a little bit familiar with stuff.
I'm unsure on what the state of the remake is. Because I
think they've just kind of stopped it.
Well, yeah, but then another thing came out the other day being like, well, we see the response and, never say never, So I don't know what anybody's doing.
I don't know.
Like, do you know how to make a game? Because I think I know how to tell that story. we can do it.
KOTOR.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about Old Republic comics at all. But a lot of that stuff, too, is all Legends. My hope was that the KOTOR remake was going to be like a soft push into the idea of remaking the Old Republic Legends, or canon again, from the Legends.
Sure.
And hopefully they do that as well, because I definitely want to prioritize things that are involved in the current canon.
Me too.
Because I will confuse myself with all the Legend stories that aren't there anymore. So there's a give and take with all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I will be interested in anything that happens in that era.
Yeah.
Levi
says, have you guys read the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy yet?
No, we have not read it yet. But just like some of the other stuff we talked about, getting more into the High Republic, more into the Amidala books, I am probably most excited to get into the Ascendancy books.
Yeah.
Just because, like, it sounds, I don't know, but it sounds like it's going to be a little more insular in what's happening versus kind of having to go around seasons of Rebels. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I would like to cover that before the movie comes out for, I'm just going to say Heir to the Empire. I don't know if it's officially been announced for any of that, but that's what I imagine they're going to name the movie. Yeah. So I'm just going to call it that until they announce what it's going to be.
Sure. Yeah.
But what Dave has, like, Ahsoka leading into and a lot of other stuff that I think it's supposed to culminate into.
Yep.
I'm excited for that movie. So I know it's going to have Thrawn in it. Hopefully we can get the trilogy read before then.
And, I mean, we kind of went through this before, too. Like, I won't be upset if the continuity doesn't work out the way that, like, I think it should, because things don't fit together perfectly. Having Timothy Zahn tell you more about Grand Admiral Thrawn will always be valuable, regardless if it fits with what's to come or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because usually, don't they talk to him about some Thrawn decisions with, like, Rebels and stuff, too? A little bit, just to get ideas and stuff of
At
how
the very least, they pay lip service to that idea. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Sebastian has an interesting question. What has been your favorite and least favorite Star Wars project since Disney took over?
Least favorite was probably Star Wars Resistance. Not to say I didn't enjoy the show, and especially some of the performances in the show. It just wasn't really geared for me as much. It was more of a younger audience, and the Clone Wars had taught me, and Rebels had taught me, like, that animation, like, there's no difference in terms of hype and expectation for me when it comes to animation versus live action. But maybe I should have had some for Resistance, because while there was stuff I really enjoyed, there was a lot of stuff that left me like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
There's definitely some story elements that I'm just like, it didn't hit some of the points for me. I think Resistance probably is my least favorite.
Yeah.
In a similar sense, I've watched some. I don't necessarily feel like I need to watch a lot of the Jedi Adventures, the younger
series,
Star Wars series. And I feel like while a lot of Star Wars is made for kids, like that one's made for like younger kids. It has a very broad, like, general, like, this is how you should
Yeah.
treat people, and this is the nice stuff to do, and like it's like watching Super Y or
Yeah.
something like that. Not that I don't think I think they're bad necessarily, but they're just not my favorite ones to watch.
Gotcha.
Same thing with Resistance, where like maybe it's made for a younger audience. The animation style for it too is also just kind of weird to me. It's very blendy.
Yeah.
Like not things I don't think stand out as much. Even though there's some very bright colors and stuff too, just something about the animation style I just don't like as much either.
Okay.
Favorite stuff.
If I want to say like best, or if I'm trying to go against every instinct I have and rank things, then Andor's like the top for me. I loved Andor because it gave me something. It gave me many things I didn't even know I wanted.
Sure.
Sure. Like that dude just going on about his manifesto about what it means to be a rebel versus the institution of the Empire. I could just listen to that for days.
Yeah.
And then you take him away from me. Like
why?
there's it's so adult. It's so Resistance and some of the other stuff that you can include more for kids. It's giving you ideals and morals that you can take into your life and try to be a better person. But Andor is like, hey, remember all the shit you've gone through? And you're like, yeah. It's like, here it is. And like, oh, and I relate to those people so much.
Yeah.
Like, but even if you're asking me like pick one episode, I mean, Kino Lay in the prison, like you have Andy Serkis, who already played a pretty big character in Star Wars, be asked to come in and just give another amazing character in the small amount of time that we had with him. Really amazing.
Yeah.
So that's probably my best, or my objective best. But
yeah.
in terms of favorite, I don't know.
Picking my favorite is hard, I think. Like I really like Force Awakens too, because Disney took over when they did the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And I liked Force Awakens. It might be my favorite of the trilogy. But I also really like Mandalorian. I think it did some really great stuff, and is one of the more viewed Star Wars series that have come out.
I mean, I really enjoyed the Return to Mandalore, the bathing in the waters beneath the cavern, and
the secret of Grogu being held for as long as it did, for whenever it finally they released that,
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of like Mandalorian season 3 hate lately, but that's why I tell people like maybe like give it a rewatch. I don't know.
Sure.
you might be forgetting a lot of really cool stuff.
There's some great
did.
stuff in there. But probably my favorite is, I'm gonna say Rebels. Rebels, yeah. I mean, that was like one of the first things they did after the acquisition. I believe Rebels came out. They stopped Clone Wars, which was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Started Rebels on Disney. But it's probably one of my favorites. I love the stories. I feel like it's much more consistent than Clone Wars is, because Clone Wars is a little bit more anthology.
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved it enough that I named my son after a
You
character
certainly
from that,
did.
and I love that character. And I don't think there's any member of the Rebels crew that I'm like, I don't like them. I think everyone is fun, unique, different, and important. And yeah, I think that, and also it leads into things like Ahsoka.
It does.
I definitely liked Ahsoka and stuff like that too because of Rebels, but I think I probably would have enjoyed it without. But yeah, I'd probably say Rebels is my favorite Disney like project.
Yeah. I will give one special shout out to the finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is without a doubt the thing I've rewatched the most in Disney Star Wars. I have watched the Obi-Wan Vader fight so many times, certain parts more than others. Obi-Wan's final goodbye to Leia when he talks about the gifts of the mother and the father. And then just Hayden Christensen's performance. Like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. It's so good. It's chilling. And Ewan McGregor gives such a performance. The line on the page is, Anakin, I'm so sorry. It's like, all right, get some mileage with that one. And that dude puts it into high gear, and just gives this performance that I don't even know if he was allowed to go that much in the prequels,
Yeah.
So I've rewatched specifically that episode so much that I think I have to at least mention it in my favorites.
Sure.
Yeah. I know the series wasn't everybody's favorite, and it's not like the whole show is my favorite, but that is amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I think we've hit our time for today.
One of these days, we're gonna learn because every Badonkagonk, I'm like, do you think we'll have enough stuff to talk about, like at the end with the Q&As? And we always run out.
Sure, yeah. A lot of times you don't even get to the Q&As aspects and stuff too.
Yeah, we always run out of time.
We need to do one time where it's just like, all right, we'll do the book and we'll do Q&As. That's all we'll do, maybe.
Right.
But I don't know when we'll do that. But maybe at some point. So
Yeah.
make sure you're subscribed on Wave Squadron. Follow on Twitch. That's where we usually watch for chat and stuff a lot more. But we will be back. I believe January 25th will be the next Badonkagonk.
Yep.
And we will be covering A Test of Courage. It's not a real long book, but it's also for the holiday season. I know I'm going to be busy with stuff coming out.
Yep.
So rather than tossing in like a 12, 15-hour book,
Yeah.
it makes sure that we can finish and get back into the High Republic and talk about High Republic and where it's been, what's happened in between and whatnot too. And hopefully going into 2024, we'll get more of the comic stuff going and maybe some more, just more Star Wars content in general on Wave Squadron. So.
And for everybody that's watching, especially all of you, shout out to you that are watching this later on YouTube, because you can find these videos in our live section on YouTube. Put down in the comments, like, what are some segments, some top 10 lists, some debate topics that you would like to see going into the next year of Wave Squadron?
Yeah.
What are some YouTube channels maybe that you would be like, oh, it would be cool if we could get those guys to talk with those people? Because, again, that was one of my favorite things that we did this year, and I'd like to do that more. Let's foster some cool discussion and positivity in the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah. Definitely fun to have that.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. Well, we thank you so much for joining us for this Badonkagonk. We will be back January 25th, so make sure that you are following us here for that. And I hope you guys have a happy holiday, happy Life Day, whether that was already happened or coming up for you. So, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next year.
Savage. Don't you just feel